Hi everyone, my name's Mispa. Welcome back to another video. Today I've come to do another walk, this time beside the canal. I'm walking in Lymm at the moment and it's part of the Bridgewater Canal. It was built in the 18th century by the Duke of Bridgewater, initially so that the canal boats could transport coal from the mines in Worsley to the factories in Manchester. And then afterwards it was extended so that the cotton that was made in the factories could then be taken across to Liverpool. So this canal is historic because it was the first one that was built to go across the country and it didn't follow the actual river path. So here you can see how close the canal actually is to the road. And the roads would have been in very bad condition in the 18th century, and it would have been much more efficient to transport the goods using canal boats rather than horse and cart. My favourite part of the canal walk is here at Dunham. I like it because it's just much more countryside and it's more peaceful here. You can hardly hear the road at all. So I hope you found this first part of the video interesting. Thank you for watching this, and in the second part I'm going to talk about a favourite book. So now I'm going to be talking about The Remains of the Day by Kazuo Ishiguro. So the book is set in 1956 and an old man called Stevens is taking a 6-day car journey across the English countryside, and then he'll be visiting a small seaside town. And we learn through flashbacks that for 30 years Stevens worked as the head butler at a famous country house called Darlington Hall, and he served the great Lord Darlington. And he's now on his way to visit Miss Kenton, and 20 years ago she was the housekeeper at Darlington Hall. So this book really captures a certain type of Englishness where you have the stiff upper lip and the behaving with quiet dignity and keeping your emotions repressed. But Stevens is an unreliable narrator, and as he's telling us stories of events that took place where there were great banquets and Lord Darlington took part in world-changing events, and there were these very important visitors, and Stevens played his part, he did his duty in serving Lord Darlington. We find that things may not have been 100% as Stevens is describing them, and we get little clues that maybe what we have here are very painful memories lurking in Stevens' brain, and he's finding it too difficult to confront these memories because then he would have to face up to the fact that Lord Darlington had faults and he's actually served perhaps a bad or an evil master. The tragedy of Stevens' life is that his whole world was this small country house, and he never kept himself abreast of what was happening in the real world. He took no interest in other affairs other than perfectly running this country house. And it turned out that Lord Darlington was a Nazi sympathiser and these great statesmen who were visiting the house were Nazis. So Lord Darlington found himself on the wrong side of history, and Stephens found himself actually working for evil people. I read in an interview with Kazuo Ishiguro that he explained that he felt that we were all butlers. We all had our small role to play in organisations. And this is a cautionary tale that if we're not aware of what's happening in the world, and we will become Stephens. So it's our duty to make sure that we understand that our actions actually affect the rest of the human race. The ending is incredibly poignant. When he meets Miss Kenton, she tells him that she left Darlington Hall because she loved him, and he never expressed his emotions because he spent his life keeping his emotions repressed and never actually being free to say what he felt. I'll just read you a small section so that you get the idea that even though there are no great speeches or no great events, and nothing happens, the ending is actually quite heartbreaking. So Miss Kenton is speaking first of all. But that doesn't mean to say, of course, there aren't occasions now and then, extremely desolate occasions, when you think to yourself, what a terrible mistake I've made with my life. And you get to thinking about a different life, a better life you might have had. For instance, I get to thinking about a life I might have had with you, Mr. Stephens. And I suppose that's when I get angry over some trivial little thing and leave. And then the next part is where Stephens is responding. I do not think I responded immediately, for it took me a moment or two to fully digest these words of Miss Kenton. Moreover, as you might appreciate, their implications were such as to provoke a certain degree of sorrow within me. Indeed, why should I not admit it? At that moment, my heart was breaking. Before long, however, I turned to her and said with a smile. So, we don't have a happy ending. They are not together at the end. Stephens goes back to Darlington Hall, which has now changed hands, and there is a new owner, an American, and Miss Kenton stays with her husband. And although nothing happens in this book, it is beautifully written and it is a haunting book. You feel as if you are holding someone's fragile life in your hands when you read it. So I really recommend it. Remains of the Day by Kazuo Ishiguro.